Grit. My name is Laia.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Rachel.
And much like your favorite talk show, we are still broadcasting from home as we continue to dive into the most motivating and entertaining stories to get you through the week. This week, Aunyea Lachelle is back from Philly Live on NBC10 to give us some good news. We're going to check in with James Beard Award winner and Philly's own food superhero, Chef Eli Kulp. And what happens when two masters of design join forces for good? Well, we will let Nasheli Juliana Ortiz-González and Marién Vélez explain.
Congratulations on getting those names out.
I mean, I thought Laia was hard. But now it's time. You know the game, guys. We always start this show off with a little bit of fun and some Philly faves.
So we're going to do a lightning round. What is it this week?
I thought we'd do something different. How about style that we swear was derived from Philly?
That's a good one. Rachel, do you want to start?
Oh my gosh, I can't make you go first. I'm going to go with Lagos jewelry. I love their jewelry, and we have the flagship Lagos stores. I can't go wrong or get pinged with that one. And sneaker culture because of Ubik. So there, I'm sticking with those two answers.
They're two good ones, and you took two, by the way.
I do what I want.
Sure did.
Thank you. Next.
She's a boss.
Next.
Okay, all right.
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to take it back because for me, I swear Philly were the ones that started men feeling comfortable really rocking their pink shirts. I swear that started in Philly first. I feel like in the 90s. So I'm going to go with that.
That's a good one. Yeah. Mine are gray sweatpants. I feel like everyone's wearing sweatpants now, right? Like that's work attire. Actually, I put jeans on today, so you guys should feel special.
I have gray sweatpants on now with my blouse.
But I mean, Philly's kind of known for like people wearing sweatpants to everything. And we sort of have that reputation. Those gray sweatpants are everywhere in Philly, but now they're everywhere.
That's fine. We're comfortable wherever we go. All right, so let's get things started. Now, world-renowned chef Eli Kulp knows all about reinvention. After a 2015 Amtrak train derailment left him a quadriplegic, Kulp battled with not being able to return to his kitchens at Fork and High Street on Market while becoming a mentor to many Philly chefs. He has now taken those talents and combined them to form the ultimate podcast experience, which dives into all facets of the food industry. The show is called the Chef Radio Podcast. The host, Chef Eli Kulp.
Eli is a James Beard Foundation award winner, and we are really excited in Philadelphia that we're going to host virtually the James Beard Foundation award nominees on Monday, May 4th, and we'll make sure the link is on visitphilly.com.
Hello, Eli.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hi, Eli.
Welcome to Love and Grit. This is our first podcast crossover interview.
I will say the same thing. I have not done a podcast crossover video.
Tell us about your podcast.
So the name is Chef Radio Podcast, and it stands for Cooking, Hospitality, Environment, and Food. But we wanted to have a real focus on Philadelphia because there's so much going on here. And I wanted it to be a podcast that had takeaways, that had lessons in it, that had people to listen to, hear the stories that made the sacrifice that these chefs had early in their career and what got them to where they are, to really be able to develop into the people they are today. And try to match that with like real life lessons, stories of people with real grit, being able to be resilient. They want to hear the stories of people coming back from adversity, all these elements that kind of go into real life situations and real life journeys.
I love that. That speaks to everything we've had to work through with our podcast. As far as the grit, what we look at is how are we all dealing with it? What are our individual stories? How are we coming together as a community? And what are we looking forward to? Because we know there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. And the restaurant industry, as we all know, is one of the hardest hit sectors. And the restaurant industry is so vulnerable. The margins are very thin. Restaurant industry is 90% small business. And unless you're really killing it, you probably don't have a huge nest egg to pull from. So everybody in the restaurant industry is really hurting right now and trying to figure out what the next right move is. What's the correct move? Restaurateurs are put in this position where, they're really having to make what feels like life and death decisions about what to do with their restaurant.
And Eli, you faced making life and death decisions about your own life and having to make a comeback. And it's been so incredible. And we celebrate you. Philadelphia celebrates you. We thank you for everything you've done and the courage you've shown. And I think what you've learned can really help inspire us, because we face such hard odds. And not to compare it to what you've been through, but what lessons have you learned that can help us and help the restaurant industry?
I think one thing that people really have to remember, and this is sort of one of my mantras, that hard work always pays off. People sitting at home right now who kind of feel like, they don't know what the answers are right now. For them, it's important to use this time to really start to think about what they want for the next steps in their career, whether that's work and life, whatever it is. And the lessons that I've learned in the last 5 years, just going through this, is that you just have to take it day by day. And it sounds cliche, but there's really no other option out there. It's hard as hell to stay positive. And I went through some really dark times after I was injured for probably the first few years, where I sort of regained that confidence and that self-esteem and started to realize that I did have value still, even though I was physically sort of immobilized, that I was still able to really contribute to, my restaurants, people around me, my family, my kids, still be the dad that I had hoped, even though it wasn't the same way that I had envisioned it.
Do you still feed your passion for cooking at home, like with your son? Is he taking that passion as well?
Absolutely. He calls himself the garnisher. So he finishes.
Yes, I love that.
How old is he, Eli?
He's 8 years old. So he's not really into the cleanup in the beginning, but
Yeah, neither am I.
he'll finish, right. All the hard work, he'll finish things. He'll put the final touches on it.
What are you missing the most? And, I can't wait until things ease up and we're doing our, normal routines. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to getting out of the house with my son. For those of us that have kids, being stuck in a house is difficult. And thankfully, we do have some outdoor space and all that. But it is no joke being sort of trapped in a house with a very, very hyper kid. But I really miss the face-to-face. And, thank God we have social media. I was just talking with Joe Badia from Pizzeria Badia, and I said, what if this would have happened in 1992 when we didn't have any video, we didn't have social media, we didn't have cell phones, right? All we have is landlines. Think about that for a minute.
Damn.
So thankful that this happened while we still have the technology available to stay in touch, but also, in the medical world, the advances. Hopefully this will be over sooner than later.
Do you have a favorite place that you like to visit in Philadelphia or the countryside with your son?
Yeah, our go-to is the waterfront. I live at Front and Market. We are always down there, especially when the weather's nice. Of course, like Cherry Street Pier. There's so many places that Philadelphia has to offer. It just continues to grow. And with children, what you're doing, you're looking on You Wish You Knew and visit Philly every Wednesday and Thursday to see what you're going to be doing with your kids that weekend. It's really great to be here when there's so many great things going on.
I want to get some intel from you, Eli, because I feel like between your behind the scenes conversations and the upcoming shows that you're getting ready for, that some of the folks that we need to be looking out for in the restaurant business that are thinking creatively. And as soon as we get the doors open, it's like, okay, well, you might want to pay attention to this person or that place.
Well, I would say that my good friend Mike Solomanoff, who owns the Hob and Federal Donuts and feels like 1,000 other restaurants around here, he and his business partner Steve Cook are really forward thinkers. And I think they're going to really do great things. I just got off the phone with Joe Badia, like I said. And
GQ named Badia Pizza the best pizza place in America.
And so did Bon Appetit magazine. They said he had the best pizza in the U.S. as well. I mean, this guy is just killing it. And the beautiful thing about Joe, and I can talk all day about Joe, is that he's a true craftsman. He picked one thing, and it was pizza, and he studied it. He put all of his energy into one thing. And originally that was cooking 40 pizzas a night. And that was it. That's all you got. So when these articles came out, we had a line wrapped around the block. There would be more than 40 people in line, and the 41st and 42nd people knew they weren't getting a pizza.
Wow. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's some good intel.
People want comfort right now. At least I do. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? How do you feel about going back out to restaurants once things are lifted?
I can't wait. I mean, that's my social life, honestly, is going to restaurants and seeing friends. So I always joke that I've been social distancing for years, but the only really social activity I take part in is sitting around a table with a friend or friends or family. Restaurants are so important because they bring us around the table. And it is such a representation of love and grit because restaurateurs and chefs work so hard to have the best possible product. And the results it brings family and friends together around a table. So it's really like working hard and being nice to people.
That's going to be interesting for me because I think that I am going to look at my restaurant experience different unless the whole nation gets tested. That's a whole nother thing. However, I am interested in the innovative ways that people are going to have like pickups, takeout. I know that people are going to have to be wiping off these menus. So I'm going to be paying attention more to the way restaurants take care of their menus. Because I love food and I want to jump back in. The last thing I probably want to do is go to a huge, big restaurant and commune. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to try to figure out other ways to support my favorite places.
I feel as though, people will be innovative. That's what you have to do. I look at how fast grocery stores were able to adapt. So restaurants will figure it out. And I look forward to being out and about.
That's great. Because as a restaurateur, we're all trying to figure out, like, what is the customer base going to need to feel safe coming out. If we're taking out tables so that they're 6 feet apart, is part of that intimacy of being around people, even though you might not be talking to the people around you. Is that going to fill the void that restaurants were? Or do we just go back to business as normal? That's really the ticket, and we just don't know yet.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be trying different ways. And what I've said to my business partner, Ellen Yin, is that we sort of have to grow with, as the virus lifts, like figure out what it is step by step. It might change day to day what people are expecting or what we're going to be serving and what we're going to be doing. There's so many restaurants that do small plates and family style now. Are people going to want to do that? I don't think so. Double dipping is going to be a felony these days. You know what I mean? There's this sort of reset opportunity for everybody in the restaurant industry, making sure that we're looking at the humane aspect of what we do. I believe that restaurants, and especially larger restaurant groups and restaurateurs, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are not forgetting the other 95% of people that do not have access to that fine dining restaurant that we're serving. Now, I'm talking about the populations that don't have access to much, or food desert, or they're dining out as McDonald's or Burger King. And we have a responsibility as restaurateurs to make sure that we're reaching out to those communities to help bring them in, to help bring some level of positivity. Food can heal, food can bring people together, and food can create great conversation.
Thank you, Eli. You're a great example of all of those things, all that positivity and all that hope that we need to have to move forward. So thanks for being that role model.
No problem, man. I think it's necessary. And yes, we're a very wealthy country, but we can't forget about the people who don't have access. And that's one of my sort of initiatives going forward.
Up next, it's time for some good news, and Aunyea Lachelle from Philly Live on NBC10 always gives us the best of it.
Aunyea, so we are loving all of your stories, and for me, the one that hit home was about our hair care. Tell us, we know the struggle is real. For me, it's oil, a lot of oil.
Yeah, for me, it's just holding on to this month-long hairstyle for another 5 months.
I hear your struggles. So many women, especially African-American women, are in the same boat with the salon shutdown because it's traditional for us to go to the hair salon once a week, twice a week. Right. That's standard. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to put a story out there that had some helpful tips because there's so many stylists from Philly who are already doing this. They're already putting out tutorials. They're calling their clients, giving them tips and advice on how to take care and maintain their hair, especially for those who have to work from home. You still have to, dress up from waist up. So you need your hair done. It's real out here.
That's
and
true.
So some local stylists, Asia Stevens Bay, Mickey Davis runs a natural hair studio. So you can find some helpful tips in the story that we put on NBC10 earlier this week.
I love the portion about, a lot of times we're like, okay, obviously you have your natural hair routine, whether it's, how often you shampoo or, your wash, whatever. But at the same time, the tips to making sure your flat iron and the combs or brushes and just a cleanliness routine for that to make sure that you're taking necessary precautions as well. I thought it was really important and informative.
Yeah, I never even thought about having to clean my styling tools until I came across this video on YouTube. And just so happened she was from Philadelphia because the CDC recommends that we have to wash our hair often because the virus, it's still inconclusive if it can live on your hair or not. So that's why they recommend wash your hair often just in case. But she made a great point. If you don't wash or you clean your styling tools, your flat irons, your combs, your brushes, you're just cross-contaminating and putting dirty tools back onto clean hair. And so I think it's important that we maintain a healthy regimen for all of our hair needs. Yeah.
That made me nervous anyway, because I was like, we don't even, as Black women, we don't even wash our hair as often as most other ethnicities anyway. So I was like, oh my God. No.
Another story that I did was on Simply Good Jars. It's a local company. Prior to COVID, they had these smart vending machines where they make these freshly made salads or freshly organic made meals and pack them in a mason jar. But the cool thing about what they're doing is, so obviously they had to close nearly 60% of their locations due to COVID, but they unlocked all of their smart vending machines that they had in the hospitals. So now they're feeding the frontline workers for free. And they have a delivery driver, one sole delivery driver who delivers to all the hospitals here in the area every day, providing them with their own Simply Good jars. They can take them home, reuse the jars for something else. I mean, it's amazing.
That is so kind, because they still incur costs for doing that, the company. So the fact that people can get involved by either having their own jars delivered to their homes or making a donation, that's huge. And it's so helpful to so many people that have to be exhausted, that are taking on additional shifts, don't have time to, grab a meal or make their own meal. That's very loving. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry about a meal for the day. That just helps take one thing off your plate and makes your day go a little bit smoother.
Thanks, Aunyea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and let us know if you decide to experiment with anything with your hair or, any other tips. We'll let you go first, and then we'll follow suit if we need to.
Oh, girl, I've done it, and you don't want to see it.
Thanks to Aunyea, and don't forget, Aunyea will continue to bring us that good news happening in the city and the region, as we are all in the midst of challenging times. Don't worry, we got this, and we have each other. Speaking of taking care of each other, Philly designers Nasheli Juliana Ortiz-González and Marién Vélez are continuing to have our backs, or rather our fronts, through their collaboration via 22 Studio. These Boricua superheroes of design have joined forces to make sure we stay safe from COVID-19 while still maintaining our flyness. What could it be that brought this fashion superstar and light design dynamo together to join forces for good? Let's find out.
Yes.
Thanks for stopping sewing to talk to us.
Yes.
So how did you get into the mask business?
So it was very interesting, because at the beginning I was one of the persons that was, no, don't use the mask, was not approved for the CDC at that point. But a doctor here from Philadelphia contacted me, and he was like, we really need a mask. Can you help us? And I was like, yes, but how we can create one that is really protective and is useful? And we presented different materials that we had here in the studio, and we end up with this model, and he's using it in his hospital and in his ER. So we have an Etsy shop, 22 Studio shop. We sell one and you donate one. And then the other layer of these is, it was a lot of instruction on English, but it was not any on Spanish. And we have a big Latino community here in Philadelphia. So we started doing video tutorials on how to make them on their own houses.
That's amazing. And it's crazy to think that in this time where we need so much help, people aren't thinking of all the layers of help we need, which just translating how to make masks. What a way to step up and think about other people. What has the response been?
It has been amazing. It's beautiful. In Puerto Rico, we have a beautiful culture. Everybody knows how to sew, even at least a button. So when we uploaded the video on Spanish, all the seamsters in Puerto Rico started doing them, donating them, doing it for their families, and the same here in Philly.
So how long does it take to make a mask? Or if we were to say by the end of the day, how many do you think you have made?
We've been doing 150 to 100 in 8 hours.
Wow. Now, Nasheli, you are the fashion designer. Marién, you're the lighting designer, correct? So
yes.
How do you infuse with your talents into what you guys are doing?
As a designer, I always try to exercise design thinking, right? And do it every day. In this case, for example, in this project, Nasheli is the project manager and I'm the designer. So she gets always my input. She creates like mock-ups and I say, well, let's see if the tension can come from here rather than here, or let's use a different fabric, and then we sketch and we create mock-ups, and that's how it works.
Yeah, I think design is problem solving. And at the end, we just want to resolve a problem and help the community and help people to have a better quality of life. We are trying to democratize design and make it more accessible.
And I also want to add that we in 22 Studios, we build through design models that help communities to be more resilient. So that's part of our philosophy. If I want to become more resilient designer, I need to step out of my comfort zone and be able to have more skills to battle through life.
You guys are warriors, no doubt about it. You are warriors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nasheli, tell everybody about the Netflix show that you're on.
Yes, Next in Fashion on Netflix. And we also, after that, we went to Paris, presented a new collection in Paris Fashion Week.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful to see, you were in a show and then you were in Paris Fashion Week and now you're making masks. And a lot of people has asked me, how do you feel about this? I always tell my students and everybody, fashion is not glamorous. And I think that is where the fashion industry got lost. We make fashion statement, we make political statement through fashion. And that is the anthropological view that I want to give to fashion and to all my statements. So I see this as another layer in my career as a designer. When the Netflix show was a beautiful experience for me, I'm very grateful for that platform for me.
Well, we're grateful for you. Thanks for taking your talents from your Netflix show and Paris Fashion Week to Ardmore to sewing masks and donating them.
And with Mary, I'm looking forward to seeing what she's going to be doing with the community post this situation that we're going through. I can't wait to see what installations you guys can come up with.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So this week we have something to watch on Netflix. We know what we have to do to take care of our hair, or at least try to. Are you guys with me?
I'm pretending to be frozen.
No one has any headspace left.
We learned about good jars and how to get some food real quick in a jar, shake it up fast and eat it, and then support our healthcare workers. But we also learned not only where to get some dope masks from, but how to make dope masks. I mean, if you just go follow Nasheli and Marién.
Well, at least we have each other. This is not easy. That's what's amazing about this is global. So this is literally affecting every person on the earth.
Yeah.
Differently. It affects us all differently, but we're all feeling it. We're 6 weeks in. And you know what? I appreciate being able to get together with you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate being able to get with you guys and have a chef on every week to remind me of how many restaurants and food I'm missing. I'm hungry. I'm sorry.
But it's a nice reminder for everything our region has to offer, and that everyone now knows the hair is a hot mess.
We're doing the best we can.
We really are. And you know what? Meet us back here next week for some more of the best we can with love and grit.
We love you out there.
Love.
Thank you.